Hi, my name is Raven Urquhart, and this is my signature project, part two of my signature project. Learners that are grouped by ability and capabilities have a greater success rate during their school life. So, I'm going to examine how grouping students by ability have benefits that can increase students' success rates. So, the purpose of this study: a typical classroom setup is characterized by students who are academically good, average, and poorly performing students. In most cases, students do not perform to their full potential due to the teaching strategies applied in the classroom. In a general view, teaching is perceived as a one way activity where the teacher is the sole giver and custodian of the information, while the student's role is solely consuming the information given by the teacher. This perception has been discredited based on the fact that students can also transfer meaningful information amongst themselves. Learners that are grouped by ability and capabilities have a greater success rate during their school life. So, teachers are usually the focal point in the classroom. Instead, students should be able to transfer information to one another. So, why group students? Grouping students by abilities and capabilities is meant to help students grow and develop as much as possible. Grouping of learners in education can be described as the grouping of learners based on their characteristics. Such characteristics need to be classified in order for them to be in the same condition. The existence of these same conditions can facilitate the provision of the same service. Therefore, this grouping is prevalent with the term classification. Umizawa concluded that the grouping of students is held with the intention that the implementation of teaching and learning process activities in schools can run smoothly, orderly, and can achieve the educational goals that have been programmed. So essentially what this is saying that students should be grouped intentionally and purposefully. So, the data and identification. The objective of the graph is to demonstrate how ability groupings affect students' performance in the classroom. Many studies have been conducted on students' ability groupings, and this graph shows that ability groupings help enhance students' performance. With their peers, students can learn at their pace and ultimately get the education they are supposed to get. Ability grouping also encourages the learners to work harder. The graphical representation confirms that ability grouping is an effective method for helping students, especially those performing poorly. It demonstrates that ability grouping augments the pace of learning by helping put the same students in one group. These students can therefore advance their skills to greater levels of ability and move to the next group. For the higher performing students, ability grouping can help them use shorter time learning about a particular concept. So, taking a look at this graph, the data shows that in three of the four categories, students that were grouped by ability performed higher than the other categories that include alphabetical grouping and student choice. So, this graph indicates some of the teaching practices and their effectiveness in a typical classroom. The data was collected on a global teaching practice, and hence it represents a global perspective. According to this graph, five teaching practices were analyzed in teaching mathematics, physics, and science. That includes interaction, teacher extracts knowledge from students' active participation, teacher imposes knowledge on students, teacher evaluates students' knowledge, and teacher illustrates knowledge with examples from everyday life. The results indicated that teachers extracting information from students' active participation and student interaction were the leading in terms of effectiveness in learning with a cumulative score of 131 and 101, respectively. Teachers imposing knowledge on students had a cumulative score of 26. Inferring from the study, it is clear that grouping learners in the classroom is more effective than teacher imposing knowledge on student strategies. So, the sample description. My meta analysis would include a sample size of 70 students. Among the sample size, 35 learners will be grouped based on their intellectual capacity. The other 35 students will be used as a control group. This study will employ several types of data collection, such as observations, interviews, and questionnaires. The researcher will observe learning activities in a group class and record the observations. Teachers will conduct face to face interviews since they are better positioned to provide valuable information in this study. The research will investigate the advantages of comprehensive grouping systems. All children at a particular grade level are assigned to different classrooms based on their evaluation and general ability. So, the instruments that we will be using will include classwork and class data, whole and small group instruction, RTI documentation, star reading and math testing data, performance matters testing data, and any state and or district mandated assessments. So, the action plan. As a teacher, there is a need to focus on making sure all students are on par with their peers to be able to move to the grade level prepared. Ability grouping would alter education for all students for the greater good. Grouping learners by their capabilities grants educators the ability to distinguish instruction at a diverse level. The groups will be small and comprised of either 5 or fewer students. The performance and test scores of the students will be evaluated. The students will then be placed into groups according to their ability. The low performing students will be in the same group, while the high performing students will be in the same group. Every group will learn about a particular topic for every week, and those students who improve or drop their performance will be moved into suitable groups. After 7 weeks of participation, the results of the ability groups will be determined. The ability grouping is essential since it will help match learners with the curriculum based on their ability or previous performance. Further, it will enable the learners to work independently and engage in cooperative group activities or complete tasks assigned by the teacher, ultimately reinforcing the skills of these students. Further, as the teachers rotate around the group, every student will get teacher led instruction in a small setting. In general, ability grouping will be necessary for the challenged students at their classroom level. It will help create a homogeneous environment that makes it easy for teachers to match their instruction to student needs. The students will benefit from interacting with their comparable academic peers. So, procedures. Progress monitoring schedules will be followed to update student grouping. At and above will be monitored every 6 weeks. Intervention students will be monitored every 4 weeks. On watch students will be monitored every 3 weeks. And below grade level will be monitored every 2 weeks. This will be using star reading and star math. 30 minutes of RTI instruction will be embedded for reading and math instruction daily. Collaborative efforts. Teachers will work closely with grade level members and academic coaches, and teachers will also work with the SPED departments for special needs population. The internal and external validity. All testing instruments will be district approved. All testing instruments will be authorized by the district to gather and collect the data. All certified teachers will lead whole and small group instruction. Testing will also be conducted by a certified teacher. So, considerations: absenteeism due to sickness, quarantining due to COVID 19, or converting from face to face instruction to virtual instruction can impact student achievement. Data from a wide range of students will be used to collect sample results. Also, transferring and withdrawing of students can also affect the data as well. So, all parents will receive a consent form. Written permission must be obtained for students to participate. Confidentiality will be maintained. Parents and guardians also have the right to opt out of participation of this study. So, the reflection. Would students show more improvement by being pulled in groups by tutors for intervention, along with classroom instruction? What changes would occur if the study was extended past 7 weeks? Excuse me. What changes would occur if the groups were implemented before the 7 week period? Meaning, if at the beginning of the school year, the first week, if teachers used their observations before taking the beginning of the year STAR test, how would that affect the data? Also, would there be any changes to the data if data from previous years were used? Thank you.